Hey guys, and welcome back to TGS F1, and today we are looking at track evolution. Now, track evolution is a term that you hear quite often during a race weekend, with it playing a major role particularly in the qualifying strategy of each teams, and it can have a very big impact in Formula 1 terms on lap times and even race pace, as it can shave seconds, tenths of seconds and even milliseconds off a lap time. But what does it mean, how does it affect the cars, and why is it so important? So to start with, let's define what the two words mean and how that definition then relates to Formula 1. The track obviously is referring to the circuit, the actual course that the cars are running, but in the context of track evolution, it's focused more on the actual track surface rather than the structure and the layout of the turns and the corners and the cambers and so on. The definition of evolution, or at least one that is most relevant here, is the gradual development of something. So track evolution is exactly that. It's the gradual development and changing of the track and the track surface over the duration of the whole weekend, throughout the race, or even within any given session. But how does it work? What does it mean for the drivers? What does it mean for the teams? And what does it mean for their cars? So let's rewind to the start of any race weekend to have a look at how this occurs. At the start of a race weekend, before the cars have even started their practice sessions, the track will likely have very natural levels of debris and dust over the surface of the tarmac. These particles laid over the track, for lack of a better term, create a layer of dirt and dust between the track surface and where the tyre tread wants to go, meaning that the grip and the traction is not at its most optimal for a race car. When the track is in this state, it's often referred to as being green. Street circuits are particularly green because not only do they have the natural levels of debris and dust and dirt on them, they also have additional debris from being used as public roads for 51 other weekends of the year. This is not just the effect that happens on Premier Race circuits either. Owners of kart circuits here in the UK and across the world that are outdoors can confirm that from day to night to the following day, the track level becomes much less grippy just from the natural settling of dust and dirt on the track overnight. So back to F1. As the cars then start the practice session on a Friday, their constant running of the circuit helps to remove this layer of debris and dust off the track, particularly on areas of the circuit that are most likely to be driven on, aka the racing line. As the cars then continue to run this line over and over again throughout the course of the practice session, the fastest route around the lap then becomes much cleaner as debris and dirt is picked up and swept away by the fast moving cars. At the same time that the track is being cleaned, for lack of a better word, by the cars, it's also being rubbered in. Now, rubbering in of a track also is part of track evolution. As the cars bomb round at high speeds, rubber worn off the tyres sticks to the asphalt, forming a thin layer of rubber and giving the track much more grip and even becoming tacky at times. And as discussed before, this is often happening on the place that the cars are most heavily driving along, the fastest route around the lap, the racing line. This thin layer of rubber left behind on the track, coupled with the cleaning of the racing line from dust and debris from the cars, means that the racing line becomes much cleaner, much more grippy, and therefore quicker the longer the race weekend goes on and the more laps are being done by the cars. Now, the effect of rubbering in tracks can vary from place to place. If the tracks are used often for motorsport on a regular basis, then track evolution and rubbering in will have maybe a small amount of impact on the surface of the track. But if a Grand Prix is taking place on a street circuit or one that is not used that often by Formula 1, which we're seeing a lot of this year, then there will be much more dramatic change in the grip on the track over the course of the weekend. So what does this mean for the actual race? One period of the race weekend where track evolution can play the biggest part is during the qualifying session. Assuming a dry track with continuous environmental conditions, the effect of track evolving, as explained, means that in theory you can get the quickest and thus most advantaged lap time at the very end of qualifying. This is one of the reasons why, particularly in Q3, you see teams wait and wait before they send their cars out to do their hot laps, because those final 10 grid spots are so vital and so important, and they all want to get their out lap done and then their hot lap as close to the end of the session as possible, because every tenth and every millisecond counts, and that can make the difference between pole position and 5th, 6th, or even 10th, as we're seeing in some seasons. So essentially, every car wants to try and control their pace and position as they head out for qualifying to try and start their final flying lap when the track is at its most optimal, cleaner surfaced, grippier surface. So that's track evolution. Of course, there's many other environmental factors that can be classed as track evolution: weather conditions, track temperature, altitude, humidity, and even the composition of the asphalt itself. All of these can affect the balance, temperament, and drivability of a Formula One car. But in general, when you hear the pundits, the garages, and the drivers talk about the improving conditions of the track, that's what they mean by track evolution. I hope you found that useful and interesting. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Find me on the socials, and I'll see you on the next one.